Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to see all of you here, and I can see that we've got several people dialed in on the Zoom call. So we're happy for that. I'm Bruce Zanka. I'm the co-president of the Lake Rescue Association along with Barb Silver. Barb couldn't be with us today. Come on in. Barb couldn't be with us today because she has a close friend family wedding, and she's not here. Also not with us today is our treasurer, Kevin Goldmont. Kevin's father passed away last week, and so he's down in South Carolina at the service. But we're going to hear from him via video in just a few minutes. So I'd like to welcome you all here for joining us in person. This meeting is going to be recorded by Okemo Valley TV. They're another great community resource here, and Gavin is a technician. Gavin lives on the lake as well, so thank you for helping us and all of that. We were here yesterday setting up in the heat, and it's that. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and the first thing I'd like is to do the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you could join me for that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. Let me begin with introductions. As I said, I'm Bruce Zank, and I'm the co-president. My wife, Michelle, who's here with us today, and I live on Round Pond. We've had a home there for 22 years. I know I and everybody on this board just feels privileged to live around Lake Rescue and Lake Pauline. It's a beautiful place, and I think that's what brings us to participate in the Lake Rescue Association. It's because of the love that we have for, the nature of this community, our neighbors, this town, and that's what I think motivates us and brings us here. So I did want to mention that Barb, who's with us on the Zoom call, we'll hear from her a little bit later, is retiring as co-president this year, and I'm just, personally, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do because she does so much work, and I'm continuing this. She's been, I don't think the community has any idea how much time all of these board members spend in their various activities. The work that we do with Milfoil in the state requires a lot of paperwork and grant applications and reporting and hands-on work. The business of just mitigating against the milfoil and doing all of that just takes so much time. And so I personally want to say thank you for all that. And we have a long history. I see Charlie standing in the back of the room. I know there's other people here. I think I saw Chris before. I'd like to have anybody who has been on the Lake Rescue Board over the years. This organization was founded in 1935. Just raise their hand and acknowledge that, because we stand on the shoulders of giants who went before us in doing all of this, and we appreciate your continued support. So I can personally attest to the hundreds of hours that Barb has given to the community every year. She's thoughtful, meticulous, kind-hearted, and dedicated. And as I said, I don't know what we're going to do without her. So Barb's going to chime in from time to time during the call. And as I said, our treasurer, Kevin Goldmont, can't be with us because his father passed away. But Kevin and I met yesterday on our own little two-man Zoom call, and we'll hear from his treasurer's report in the PowerPoint presentation by video here. So let me introduce the other board members. Natalie Fisher's down here on the right between George and Spencer. Natalie works on a variety of the issues. She spends a tremendous amount of time on the Lake Breezes newsletter that you all receive, and that's a big job, kind of wrangling everybody that gets in. She also works on the sedimentation issues and just about everything else. Phil Newell is on my left here. Phil is on the Milfoil committee. My wife Michelle actually sees him out on the lake so much that she's taken to calling him Filmoil. you know, affectionately, I should say. George Thompson's with us as well. George lives on Lake Pauline and is an intrepid, tireless advocate for everyone who lives on the lakes, but particularly those who live on Lake Pauline. And George chairs our Milfoil committee, which I'm on as an ex officio member as well.
It's an enviable position.
Yeah, well. Our newest board member is Spencer Rubin. Spencer's with us as well. Spencer's led our successful fundraising efforts in the Rescue Our Lakes campaign. We'll hear more about the campaign in a few minutes. And we have two new prospective board members with us who we're actually going to vote on. They're standing for election today. It's Jackie Tong and Gigi Katzef, who are here with us as well. You guys can raise your hands, and we'll have their election and ascension into this esteemed group, you know, later today. Did I forget anybody? Spencer Rubin? No, I got you.
I think Bruce, we advanced the slide one or two. So
yeah. Okay.
a call in from a viewer.
Oh, thank you.
Barb Silver.
So this is the agenda for today. We're going to have the welcome and introductions. We're going to do a little bit of an overview. You can read through the points. We'll hear a video treasurer's report. We'll hear about the fundraising campaign, a membership report, sediment. We hope to have remarks from Scott Murphy, the town manager. Scott had a family commitment. He's in, I think he said he was in Cooperstown today, but I'm going to try to text him a few minutes before his presentation, and he's going to call in. That's the plan. I should also say that our esteemed selectman here, Bruce Schmidt, is here with us. Bruce, thanks for supporting this organization. You know, we see you on lakes every once in a while, but we certainly see you in town, and we appreciate all that you do for this community, and thank you for being here on a beautiful Saturday. Then we'll talk about what's going on with Milfoil. I'll give you an update on the legal proceedings with the state dock on the fishing access. We'll talk a little bit about boating safety, and then we'll have old and new business and the board elections. Yes?
Hi, is there any way the audience could see the agenda?
You know, there's a, come on up here. There's,
No, I'm talking about all of us.
okay, there's a screen right here that it's on. And, well, okay, that's fine. I can point it to you that way, but I have to be able to see it too to run the meeting.
No, I know that.
Okay, so let me just turn it here so you can see.
Is it possible next year that there could be printed copies?
Well, no, because I don't have them printed and we're not here, so I'll not grab a copy, but I'm happy to.
There you go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay,
Will you put that on the screen?
No, I have the same size.
that's fine. I'll just, I think I can probably see that from there.
No, I don't think you can.
I don't, you know what, but you can from here. Why don't you come sit over
Well,
here? You want to
yes,
sit
all
over
of
here?
our-
Computers are,
No, that's all right, Bruce.
it's fine.
Just make it sideways and everyone.
No,
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
fine. I'll just,
Turn it back.
Just against the wall.
can you see it from now?
If you came here, you could see it.
Okay.
I'll be up there.
Thanks, Chris. And then we'll have the board elections. So we did the introductions. You know, the Lake Rescue Association, you know, from our bylaws, it's to maintain, restore, and ensure the future of Lake Rescue and Lake Pauline. You know, just at the onset, I wanted to acknowledge something. It's been identified a couple of days ago. Linda and Thompson and I talked about the name of the organization. Since 1935, it's been the Lake Rescue Association, and we've enjoyed the last couple of years, particularly because of George's leadership's efforts. Greater participation from our neighbors on Lake Pauline, and notwithstanding the long history and name of the Lake Rescue Association, we really appreciate that. So there's been some thought about maybe adjusting the name in the future, and I wanted to let everyone know that we have a plan for addressing that. What we intend to do is to solicit suggestions in the future for perhaps a new name, and then put that to a vote of the membership at some point in the future, probably at next summer's meeting. And in the meantime, what we'll endeavor to do is make sure that we include the Lake Pauline branding in all of our activities and what we do. So I'm I'm not opposed to, you know, a name change. I'm also mindful of the long history and the association, and some people may have a different point of view on that, but I think it certainly needs to be addressed and seen that in the future. So, you know, that's something that we're going to do. So after each one of these sections, there'll be an opportunity for questions and answers, and I want to let people know that Amy Newell, who's here someplace, is helping me.
She's in the back.
Is helping me identify questions. So if you're watching on Zoom, there's a button you can push that says raise your hand, and that means that you want to be identified. And if you do that, Amy will clue me in, and we'll endeavor to do that. So if you look at this next slide, it's to these are the points that come from our bylaws, and you know, so we can read through these together, but it's maintain, preserve, and restore and improve the bodies of water within the Lakes District, you know, including but not limited to Lake Rescue, Round Pond, Lake Pauline, and the portions of the Black River watershed in the Lakes District, collectively the lakes. We'll educate members and other community members as to the importance of the lakes and the mission of the Lake Rescue Association. We're a voluntary nonprofit rather than a homeowners association and enforcement powers. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Develop plans and initiate programs which will ensure ecological balance and good water quality. Work to mitigate the presence of invasive aquatic species. Working with the state of Vermont and the town of Ludlow and private landlords to minimize erosion, road material, sedimentation, sand, soil, etc. Cooperate with the state of Vermont and the town of Ludlow in adjacent efforts to maintain the lakes in good condition. Educate and encourage membership or other uses in the lake in all aspects of the water, such as safe boating, swimming, safety, adherence to boating regulations by such means as publicizing and erecting safety measures. And then promoting a sense of common interest among the members and encourage greater community awareness in preserving the lakes as individual natural resources for the entire region. And finally, to provide a forum for other matters of importance affecting the membership that pertain to the mission of maintain and restore the lakes. So, you know, this is all from our bylaws, and I think it's pretty consistent. You know, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that there.
It's not on your screen.
No, it's not. See if I can take that. No. I'm sorry, folks. I can't.
Over to the right.
It's not on the screen, so you can't see it.
I can't see it. So.
Oh, well.
Oops.
Okay.
There you go.
Excellent. Now I can't get to my button where I advance the screens. This is just a nightmare to me.
There you go.
Okay. Now I'd like to cover what we're not. And I think there's an expectation, particularly among some new members sometime, about I can't tell you how many times people I say, you know, why doesn't the association do something about, you know, speeding boats and water skiing too close to the shore? And, you know, why isn't there something that's done about people putting off fireworks on the 4th of July and scaring our pets? And, you know, there's so many different things. The thing about this organization is that we don't have any enforcement authority. We don't own the lake. The lake's owned by the citizens of Vermont. And so what we can do is facilitate things and make suggestions, but we don't necessarily have any kind of enforcement authority in that. And so my suggestion, we'll talk about this during boating safety, is if we have issues, the way we can help with all of this is to communicate and facilitate getting to the authorities that do have. So if it's a matter of, you know, boating safety or some other violation, you know, it's calling the game warden. And, you know, they're pretty responsive to us. It sometimes takes them a day or two to get back to us. But if we can give them, you know, information and things like registration numbers of boats and those kind of things, they're responsive. Tim Carey, who's the sergeant that's the game warden here, wanted to be here today, but he ended up getting scheduled for vacation time and couldn't make that. So he had originally committed to being here, and then they rescheduled his vacation, so he wasn't able to be there. He incidentally was named Game Warden of the Year by the state of Vermont. So we've got the best, you know, law enforcement officer in that particular department, you know, on our lake regularly. So with that, does anybody have any questions or comments here about you know, the mission of the association? Great. So then what I can do is, you know, move on to the next slide. So this is our treasurer's report. It's a video that Kevin Goldmont, who I mentioned is away at his father's funeral, is doing. I'll just go ahead and play this. Okay. Next we have our treasurer's report, Kevin Goldmont. Kevin?
Thanks, Bruce. My name is Kevin Goldmont. I'm the new treasurer for the Lake Rescue Association. I'd like to say thanks to Ann Rowan for her serving as the treasurer after several years here on the board. She retired last year, and I've taken over those duties. What I'd like to review with you today is both the income statement and balance sheet for the Lake Rescue Association. And the first thing we have up here on the screen is just a very summary level of our total income, total expenses for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, and the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. As you can see, our net income in 2022, which is the first column of $70,151 compared to about $141,000 in June of 2021. The primary difference is that in the year 2021, we launched the 3-year campaign for the Rescue Our Lakes fund, and you see the initial donations coming in quite heavily. And then in 2022, we are continuing the campaign, but our donations, as we would expect, begin to fall off. So to go over and look at what else is in our income, we'll go to the next page, and you'll see that really about 90% of our total revenue, or $126,000, where you see the total membership dues and donations, is money that comes directly from our members, and which says that our organization is primarily funded by the dues and the donations that we receive from our members. We've also, when we can, look for grants to help fund us, and that's the grant income there that we've been receiving over the last couple of years, primarily to fund the fight against milfoil and to fund our milfoil breeder program, where we have a person sitting at the fishing access monitoring the boats as they come in and out a couple days a week. We have a very modest income when it comes to investment income. Primarily, that represents the interest on our cash balances that we have. And then we try to collect some money for our 4th of July picnic. However, this isn't meant to be a money-making event for us. This is really a meet and greet for everybody. So we do have a little bit of income there, but that really represents our total income of $137,000 a year. You want to take a look at how we spend your money. Go to the next slide, Bruce. This is the detailed list of the expenses that we had in 2022 and 2021. The operation you see up top is approximately $7,500. That is, the accounting piece really represents the preparation of the tax return that we have filed annually with the Federal 990, and some accounting fees with respect to software that we have for the QuickBooks software that we use to do accounting for the organization. We have $2,500 that is more software costs related to the membership software that we use, and then our D&O and liability insurance is $2,800. So our total operation is about $7,500 when it comes to the operating expenses. As far as the special programs we have here,
It's easy to find.
the dashboard project, we purchased a new 70 horsepower loader in 2020, in the fiscal year 2022, and that's been installed for the purchase of the motor, the controls, and the installation. Our Milfoil expense is comparative to what it was in 2021, but we expect that to continue to grow as we fight the Milfoil that's in the lake. The charity line really represents the donation that we make to fund the Mary Rita Badesol scholarship program, and we had that in 2022. The legal fees are really related to our expenses that we have as we continue to challenge the state on their placement of the dock at the fishing access. So our total expenses in 2022 was $67,000 compared to about $70,000. So our spending remained pretty much the same in 2022 as it was in 2021. You go to the following screen, you'll see our balance sheet here, and our balance sheet really just consists of the bank accounts that we have. Primarily in the Berkshire Bank, and then have a small securities portfolio, or a small securities portfolio and American portfolios. It's not securities, but basically that's where people have donated securities to the organization, and we then convert it to cash and invest that in money market funds until we're ready to use that. So our total cash is $344,000, which is up basically the increase our net income from fiscal year 2022. So that is my report. I think we are in a good financial condition at Lake Rescue. We have $344,000. We should fund our needs at least for the dredging projects that we have planned, and the Milfoil expenses that we're going to incur probably over the next 2 years. But we will still continue to need to raise funds in the future. Thank you.
Kevin, thanks so much for that. Sorry I couldn't be with us today. And on behalf of everybody here, we want to express our condolences on the passing of your father, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, as I said, that was recorded yesterday morning, and you know, Barb and I both were commenting the other day that Kevin's brought a real expertise. He's a CPA and a former CFO, and he's really dived into the finances, and we appreciate all that he brings to doing that. Kevin's not here. To the extent that any of us on the board can answer any questions about the finances, I'd be happy to entertain those right now. Does anybody have any questions? I think it was pretty straightforward. Okay, so we can just kind of, you know, move along then. Those are all of the balance sheets. And so our next agenda item is the fundraising campaign, Rescue Our Lakes. And with that, the chairman of that effort is Spencer Rubin. Spencer.
Thanks, Bruce. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. And also just, I chair this with Barb and Gigi, so I just want to make sure we all know who's doing the work behind this. So thanks to those guys for helping me chair this very important effort. Couple of slides I'll try to go through quickly. I know we got a lot to cover today. You know, when we sat here last summer, we talked about our original target that we had set out in the fall of 2020 to have a a revenue goal of $250,000. I'm happy to say, as you saw from Kevin's report, we've received over $315,000 so far to date in donations, and we're anticipating that by the end of 2023, we should have well over $400,000 in donations, which is just an incredible testament to Bruce's point about kind of how we're funded to all of you guys and to our membership. It's been an amazing outpouring. We said it last summer. It's incredible every time we have these conversations, just the commitment and interest that everybody has in maintaining the safety of the lakes and our livelihood to be able to use the lakes going forward. Our fundraising will continue to support the same things we talked about last summer, really around dashboard operating costs and the dredging project that we'll hear about later. We'll hear a lot more about kind of what we've done to date around purchasing additional bottom barriers and kind of earlier and more active remediation of milfoil. But all of the money has really gone to supporting that, which I think will help us obviously down the line. The last button on here, or bullet on here rather, the Reserve Replenishment. We kind of glossed over that last year a little bit. I think this is something that's important. Barbara and I were talking about this earlier in the week. When you think about really like how we're funded, we work on a very bare bones budget given, membership dues and that sort of thing. And it's really important that the money that we bring in through donations helps support everything from the slow and no wake buoys that you see on the lake to supporting charitable endeavors. We've talked about sponsoring the Ludlow ambulance fundraiser this year, things that we can do to give back to the community, and things like the picnic that I think most of you guys are at, and our ability to help cover some costs for that so that we can give back to the community, which is so important to all of us. So again, huge thank you to everybody for what we've done so far over the last year and a half. And Bruce, if you flip to that next slide, you'll see kind of how our focus has shifted this year to membership. So last year was really all about revenue generation and donations. This year really took a pivot to membership outreach and community development. These numbers actually have gone up in the last 24 hours, so that if you look at the chart on the left here, you can see how each year we've slowly ticked up our membership. This year, we'll have a significant increase in membership, which I think is a huge testament to everything that everyone's done on the committee. We've got a great committee that has put a lot of effort into one-to-one outreach. Thank you to Kathy Burns here, who has helped offered both her team's marketing services and postcard mailing, which has been hugely helpful for us. And then some one-to-one member outreach going door to door. Our committee focus, and we'll talk about this on the next slide too, but really our committee focus for this year is going to be around looking at our Neon platform, right? So the site that you guys all go on to, or most of you go on to donate and to renew your membership. There's a lot of, thanks for everybody's patience, first of all, with any questions that you guys come to us with. We recognize that the back end of the system is not as clean as it could be, and our goals for this year are to make it much more clean, to tie up everybody's kind of family and household data together, and make our website a little bit more user-friendly. So thank you for your patience with that side. In addition to the Neon and kind of back-end technical focus, our committee focus for this year is really going to be about establishing ourselves in a better way within the community. And so this is the concept around being, this Friends of the Lake campaign. I think when we looked at what we did for the picnic this year, a lot of what Jackie focused on was community outreach to different local businesses and getting the support of a ton of local businesses, Okemo included. I see Bruce here. We want to make sure that we are supporting our community as much as they are supporting us, if not more. And so that is something we're going to focus on this year. And then a lot more member development in terms of one-to-one outreach, do some more pop-up events. Some of you saw what the kind of Discovery Island Cove did this summer. We'd love to see more of that kind of community and friend-raising events that we'll do. We will come back with kind of a calendar of events and things that'll be happening in the community so that everyone can meet each other in a greater way now that we're all hopefully on the backside of not seeing each other for a while. And just a really big thank you to the committee that really focused so heavily on the picnic this year. Big shout out really to Sharon, Jane, and Jackie for a huge, unbelievable effort, really months of hours of focus on trying to make this a picnic that was, I think, one of the best we've had. And so just a tremendous thank you to the time that everybody put in there.
I just would like to make one little point. All of you can help on this membership effort. There's been a lot of real estate turnover on our lakes, and if you have a new neighbor, please mention joining the association. Tell them about the website. Tell them about the benefits of it, and that kind of just grassroots efforts could make a real difference. And it doesn't rely on just the committee members participate. So we would appreciate everybody evangelizing and helping in that.
Absolutely. And we're always looking for new members too, or in terms of our committee. I think there's a lot of work to be done. And so anyone who's interested in learning more about what the membership and fundraising committee does, please reach out to any of us. We'd love to chat. We'd love to have you.
Yeah,
Question,
sure.
if you're trying to generate membership, do you folks have a way of screening who's not a member, what properties are not members? So
We do. We do, and we look at that, and you know, it's not always an easy thing. Sometimes we go door to door. You know, some of these properties are using them as you know, rental properties where they're renting them out. We take a look at the tax records and communicate with whoever the owners are and all of that. Sometimes that effort works and all of that, but it's you know, we use a variety of different methods for trying to do all that. And then we have some attrition. You know, sometimes people fall off of the membership. One spouse thought the other spouse paid the membership and they didn't do that, and we're endeavoring to follow up on all of those activities.
That's pretty common.
I see Barb is raising her hand here. Barb? No, she's not. Okay. She was just being thoughtful. I can see her on my screen. Any other questions on the membership and fundraising? Okay, thanks, Spencer. That's just terrific. So next we have Sediment Initiatives. Natalie has been working on the sediment issues, and
With Kevin.
and Kevin Goldman has been doing it, and I've been attending some of the meetings, and so Natalie, take it away.
Okay, so our sediment projects, initiatives fall into these different categories. There's the dredging project that's going on. There's the catch basins and ditches along the road that have been put in over recent years. I think most of them are like on the backside of the lake, where the runoff comes off that big hill. And then last year's Ludlow Stormwater Master Plan. So next slide, please.
Sorry, I was texting Scott Murphy to tell him to call in.
Okay, so the dredging project was approved in 2020. Kevin worked on that permit application and the all the data that had to go into that. So that was approved in 2020, and the permit is good for 5 years. So we put it off for the last 2 years, and now it looks now that we will be doing the dredging project next fall.
Our thinking on putting off the project is it looks like we're going to have to do this every 10 years. You know, the sediment is still coming down the Black River and filling into that. You know, as much as we'd like that to change, you know, the sediment comes from Plymouth and Tyson's and all of the road ditches around the lake and doing that. And the longer we wait, the next time that we have to dredge is less. So not to preempt Natalie's thing,
No.
but we're going to do a bathymetric survey, an engineering survey at the end of this season to see how it is, and we expect that we'll be dredging next year.
Yeah, that's the plan. And the bathymetric, okay, well, go to the next slide.
Okay?
Okay, so this shows, go ahead, where is it?
Is there another one?
Is it the next one?
Yeah, then, oh, wait a minute,
That one?
the project area.
It's the
You
next one
don't-
down, Bruce. There you go.
There we go. So that shows approximately where the project will take place. The exact parameters will be determined once we do this bathymetric study in the fall. And then we will submit that information to the state. Then I have, what's the next, that's the next step. Okay. So we have to do this, and the latest we can do it is 2024. So doing it in 2023 means we have an extra year should anything preempt or be a problem. So we have some margin for a problem to happen. Okay, so we're going to do the bathymetric study, and then based on that, we'll confirm or change the project area. Then we will have to get all the workers lined up, the contractor, all the various equipment, the draining bags, and then the, someone to haul away the material. Last time around, we were able to take the dredged material to the Ludlow Cemetery, and we haven't gotten to that point of figuring that out yet.
Natalie?
Yeah.
One thing on the picture of where the dredging is going to take place.
Yeah.
In the past, we've always gotten questions, well, could you do it a little more this way or do it over here? That's determined by the state. We submit the barometric report, and they determine the location of what's allowed to be dredged.
They have to give permission for wherever.
We're gonna try to be as aggressive as we can in doing it, but you know, the state, I could speak for days about how difficult the state is to work with, in all of that. And then you talk to one department in the state and they say it's fine, and then you talk to the fish biologist and they say it's not good, and then you talk to the other departments. So sometimes three divisions of A&R can be talking out both sides of their mouth. They all have their constituencies, so it's hard to get things done.
And then once they're done, they don't pay for any of it. Once they tell you what to do, then they don't pay for it.
Yes, a question?
So,
Who are you, by the way?
Bob Greenwald.
Hi, Bob. Yeah.
So, this area is really, really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, if you're gonna do it, you know, don't you think you should really make an effort to include some of this area? I mean, people are out there walking in like,
Yeah.
to the ankles there.
We're with you. That's what I just said. We want to be as aggressive as we can. But what the state will let us do and not do is all part of the permit. And, you know, so we have the open permit, and then we have to submit a work plan. We'll submit the work plan, and then the state will say, you know, yes or no. Last time we did it 10 years ago, we tried to be more aggressive, and they wouldn't let us do it.
I mean, this is extraordinarily bad here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I live on Round Pond. You know, I haven't sailed much this year, but last year I ran my sailboat, you know, into the sandbar 10 or 15 times and have to get my big fat butt out the side of it to push my boat out. So I know.
I guess what I'm saying is, this is really have to be aggressive, you know, to include some more of this.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right, we get aggressive, and that's why I brought that up, is because people, why didn't we just do this? Well, we included that, and then they said, no, you can only go this
It kind of
far.
goes back to that no authority over anything. The state has all the authority and over that, and what we can do is ask.
And
you know,
pay
we've
for
talked,
it.
And pay for it. And we've talked to our state legislators about it. You know, we've talked to various people at the A&R about it. We're going to be as aggressive as we can, but you know, there's a mindset in the A&R that this is a natural occurrence and that they don't want to mess with nature a little bit, is their point of view on it. And you know, I just don't think it can be correct. It's road sediment. If you look at the gravel in that sandbar, it's coming off Route 100. So
It's not natural. I mean, there's people here you can't even get a kayak out.
yeah, my wife Michelle just pointed out that it's a lot of leaves, and I would make that point. There are some people on this lake that dump their leaves into the lake, and there's a lot of people. I've seen big piles of them floating down the river from, you know, people that live that way. There are, you know, just the other day there was a full sheen of grass clippings on the lake that somebody, you know, cut their lawn and dumped it in the lake. That's just, you know, not good behavior, and it's not helpful. So, if we can do that. Okay, so let me go back to where you were, Natalie.
Okay. Well, okay, so the next thing is going to be to apply for the special permit for the, using the boat launch for draining the water out of from the sediment.
Yeah, there's another thought that Kevin and I have discussed about maybe trying to do the sediment, seeing if the dredging engineers could use maybe Benson Point for going out that way, and we could talk to the homeowners. There, Mike, are you here? I don't know your face. He might be on the Zoom call, but there's a new homeowner there. We might try to do the pipe going out through Benson Point to drain instead of having to go across the pond, but we have to explore that in the future.
Okay. Okay, is there a question?
Yes.
Chelsea Aller, we have a catch basin at the edge of our property on Ellison Lake Road, and constant conversations with Ron Harville and his people at the highway department because they don't clean out the catch basins. And they're supposed to, and,
Yeah.
Last year they brought in a scoop and it made one scoop and then it died and that was it. And it just fills up and, you know, you try to threaten them with, if this goes into the lake, then you're, you know, in violation, but they don't do anything. So I see you have a thank you, but I'm wondering what they said.
Well, they did a lot of it. Bruce, do you know where exactly they came and emptied the catch basins and ditches?
There were 4 or 5 locations that they did it. The road crews were there working earlier this summer. I saw them on the road. I saw them on East Lake Road and doing that. Scott Murphy's calling in right now, so we may be able to get him. Scott, are you with us? Hello, Scott.
The problem is that they say we have 70,000 miles of road to take care of and 5 guys, or, you know, it's this kind of thing where this is a low priority compared to all the maintenance we have to do on all the roads. But still, even if they cleaned it out once a year, that would be fine.
Yeah. Well, another point of the kind that Bruce was making is that we see frequently people put their leaves into these ditches, and that certainly is not helpful. Yeah. Yes, John.
Yeah, I've been on the lake for a long time.
Now he's off.
When we originally bought it back in the 80s, we had a seasonal stream running through a culvert on our property. Scott's Landing was built and became a full-time stream. And then Irene hit, and we got a lot of stuff coming through from all over into the lake. And we had to replace our dock, our boat king. Still on top of a pile of sediment, and our dock still on top of a pile of sediment. And we actually tried to apply for a dredging permit for just our own. And got turned down by the state. That's not my question, that's just a little background. So those events made me a little bit more cognizant of what's happening on roadways and so on around the lake. And since we sit on a low point, and I'm not talking about our property, we do see a lot of sediment coming through our property. But more importantly, when I go out for a walk, go out for a bike, I look at the drainage that's coming off the roads or along the roads. And I know the town has done a little bit of trying to fix up along the side of the road by digging it out a little bit, but didn't put any stones in. I just feel that there's so much more that can be done on the roads than what the town is doing. And you know, I go to other locations in the state and other states, and I see where they actually put stone in, really have some nice ditches along the side of the road, put stone in, really do their best to try to keep the sediment down. And I just don't see that.
Well, you know, we'll let the town talk to this in a minute, but I can tell you from my perspective, I think particularly in the last couple of years, we've had a good relationship with the town, and we've been working pretty well with them. We've collaborated with them on getting some better back road grants and funding and doing that. You know, unfortunately, this town is resource constrained, like many of them are, and I don't think it's not a desire to want to be able to do it. I think it's probably a matter of just matching the town's, you know, priorities and what they have. They have a lot of different things to do in a resource constrained that. Now, that being said, I agree with you. You know, we need to protect these lakes. We need to do more and have as much as we can in that. So one of the things that we've been pursuing is more grants. We got a Better Back Road grant. We've got some work that's coming up next year on that Better Back Road grant that you know, funded, that the highway department is going to do the work, but the grant is paying for some of the materials and activities, and we think that's that. Hey, Scott, can you hear us? Can you speak? I tried to unmute you, and I'm not sure if you've got that. I see that Scott's on Scott Murphy's called into the link. He's not on Zoom.
Is your volume up?
Yeah, you can hear me. You know, Maybe what I'll do is call Scott on my cell phone because this doesn't seem to be coming through.
Natalie, while he's calling.
Those resources, because we do have taxes that we pay.
Well,
So as far as some interesting developments in these grants, 2 projects were
Yes.
approved.
2 projects were approved,
At Scott's Landing,
which,
which impacts you, and so
Impacts
that's never
you.
been
It's-
eligible because it's a private road.
he was?
For state funding. That got approved in a grant.
Yeah.
Natalie and myself and Kevin Goldmont walked
yes.
an engineering group.
Yeah,
doing a survey.
the environmental consultants that were hired by the Regional Planning Commission. What this has to do, okay, it's actually, is it on the
the
next
map.
slide?
These are two,
The next slide. Stormwater Master Plan, which started in 2020, and then the recommendations came out last year. And so the second point there, the Norm Tepper Drive and Scott's Landing, that area will have a project to improve the runoff that's coming off of the hill where Scott's Landing is.
Which we were very pleased with. Again,
Yes.
it's always been denied because it's not.
Because it's a private road.
Oh, no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
What impacts me.
Yeah.
I bicycle up East Lake Road, and you got the big ditches going out, they're not lined with stone, and.
Yeah. And I can tell you on East Lake Road, I've seen some people throwing their own Christmas trees into the ditches. That's not a helpful thing, so we all can take steps to do that. Hey, Gavin, Scott Murphy can be heard on the Zoom call, but we can't hear him in the room. What do you think I need to do? Do I need to take the PowerPoint presentation off and put Zoom up? Hey, Scott, if you can still hear us, why don't you call my cell phone? I'm sorry about the technology, folks. The people on the Zoom call can hear Scott, but we can't hear him in the room.
You may not have the speakers on your audio set up on the Zoom. You have your microphone on, so
Yeah.
the speakers may not be linked in.
Well, we do that because there's a feedback loop. It's supposed to feed through the television. During the Lake Rescue Association annual meeting on Saturday, August 6th at the Community Center in Ludlow, Vermont, Municipal Manager Scott Murphy called into the meeting via a Zoom bridge. We experienced some technical difficulties with the audio. Many attendees who were at the meeting, both on Zoom and at the Community Center, had difficulty hearing the call and comments from Mr. Murphy. Consequently, here is a digest of Mr. Murphy's comments taken from notes. Item 1, Lake Rescue Dam. Mr. Murphy reported that there had been some concerns about the deteriorating condition of the Red Bridge Dam. He said that he appreciated Lake Rescue members sending in photos of the dam. The town is monitoring the situation and is communicating with the state office responsible for inspecting dams. He reported that the dam was inspected in 2005 and was rated in fair condition, and then was inspected again in 2016 and was reported by the state in poor condition. He said that the state gave the dam a low hazard rating, i.e., failure may damage farm buildings, limited agricultural land, town roads, and with no expected potential loss of life, and minimal economic loss. The state is scheduled to inspect the Red Bridge Dam again this fall. He explained the Ludlow Select Board will address the situation when warranted. Mr. Murphy also said in May 2017 there were repairs and installation of a 33-inch liner within the existing 5-foot wide by 3.5-foot high concrete culvert off the Red Bridge Road. This same culvert was previously repaired in 1995 at an approximate cost of $70,000. Daniel Construction completed the project. Item number 2, Better Road Grants. Mr. Murphy reported on the awards of Better Road Grants. One is a project on East Lake Road to stone line the ditches. The grant is for $3,300, and the total cost will be $4,000. The other grant is on East Lake Road culvert. This awarded grant is for $16,600 with a total cost of $26,600. This is for a 36-inch by 40-foot crossing structure culvert. This project had previously been denied a grant, but Mr. Murphy stated that the Lake Rescue Association letter of support helped gain approval of the grant being issued to the town. Another project that was approved is Scott's Landing and Tepper Drive. This project is to install a head wall, replace the culvert with footbridge, widen and deepen the stone ditch, check dams, excavate the splash pool lined with stone, and possibly install sediment traps. The expected project cost is $33,500. The next steps are to facilitate plans and specification and then bid on the construction sometime next year. The final project is on Red Bridge Road to install an 18-inch culvert, stone line the ditch, sediment forebay, and possibly a rain garden with a filtration basin and stone armor. The estimated project cost is $23,000. Starting and completing this project will require the private landowner to grant the town a temporary easement to complete the work. The Lake Rescue Association hopes to help secure landowner permission.
Okay, well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate you taking time away from your family. Enjoy the trip to Cooperstown. Does anybody have any questions for Scott right now? Here in the room, I know it's a little bit difficult to hear. I'm sorry for the technology. Yes.
The person on Red Bridge Road, one person can prevent us from doing a really important project.
So the issue on Red Bridge Road is to do the work, they have to grant a temporary easement for the work to be done. And we think it's just a matter of communicating that correctly. I don't want to get into all the other issues on Red Bridge Road that we've had in the past. I mean, you know, we're beyond that. But I don't think that the individual realized that it was a temporary easement to do the work. And so Natalie's going to be our envoy in talking about what we need to do to do that work, and we're hopeful that we can come to an understanding and get it done. Anything else in the room? Yes, one other question?
I heard him say an 18-inch culvert, is that correct?
Yeah, she said, the question is, Scott, you said an 18-inch culvert?
At which location?
At which location?
I thought it was like the same specification.
No, I don't think so. I think that that's not one of the other locations around. Okay, well, I think unless there's not any other questions, we'll let you go, Scott, and thank you so much. Sorry for the technology snafus.
No problem. I'm glad we could connect, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Scott, could we ask you to do this? The points that you made, could you send us a memo with that? I'm told that the people who are on Zoom can't hear it because of, you know, it's just over the speaker in the room. So what I'd like to do is maybe get a text of what you had to say, and then we can distribute that to our membership. If you could do that next week, that would be great.
Sure, I'll send that to you on Monday.
Okay, very well. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you,
Bye.
Bruce.
I apologize to the people on Zoom that couldn't hear. I'll be with you in just a second, sir. We'll get a text of a memo from the town on those projects and what we're doing. There was a question, yes, sir.
Thank you, Bruce. Glenn Brown, 91 Ellison Lake. First, I want to thank the board for taking on a task that many times seems impossible to accomplish. But I spent 30-some years on the board, so I know where there's a lot of bones buried. What I wanted to speak to briefly is, do we have someone who is designated and working as a full-time liaison with the town highway department?
No.
Okay.
You know, it's a volunteer board. You know, we give what time we can. Natalie works with the town. I work with the town. Kevin works with the town. We're in regular contact with Scott Murphy, but, you know, we're volunteers. We don't have an employee or a full-time person to do anything like that. So, no.
Well,
we do what we can.
I wasn't insinuating full-time. I know that's not.
Oh, okay. I thought you said full-time. I'm sorry.
But I just wanted to bring up another situation that has got me befuddled.
Yeah?
I've owned the property at this present location since 1966. And I have a catch basin on the east side of the road from our property. The catch basin is worthless. Worthless from the standpoint that in that particular area of Ellison Lake Road, for some reason unknown to me but known to nature only, water from these showers runs down the west side of the road, doesn't go down the east side.
Huh.
On the east side, I have had for decades a very nice parking spot on the east side of the road. Plenty of room for a car. Never had an erosion problem, even though there's a catch basin there. The reason why I didn't was water never ran down to the catch basin. It runs down the west side of the road. I had past 2 town managers out to it to look at it with the highway superintendent over the years. And the problem is that the highway superintendent says there's only one way they can grade the roads, and that's with a hump in the middle. Well, I believe that, and I understand that's why they have to do it generally. However, it doesn't do anything for the water drainage in a storm. As a result, I've had to keep a, if you will, a small ditch down to the west side, and I've had to dig a drainage ditch from the road.
I've seen you out there with a shovel.
Yeah, I spent more time on the road than the highway department. But there's the problem. You go look at the catch basin and you'll see that it is practically dry, and where it exits on the west side of the road.
Well, let's say this. You know, some of us will come and meet with you and see what we can do, and maybe there's something that can be done and all of that. We'll try to address it. I know you've tried, but I don't have an answer for you in this meeting here. But you know, we've had some luck with looking at some of the other locations around the lakes, and applied for a grant or to do something. So maybe there's something that can be done to engineer it. So why don't we take this offline, and Natalie or Kevin or I will come and meet with you, you know, sometime in the next couple of weeks, and see what we can come up with if there's any solutions. I'm hopeful we can do something to help you.
On down.
All right, great. You're gonna have to buy me a beer.
I'll buy you 2 beers.
Okay, good. Okay, Natalie, where are we in this?
Okay, where are we? Stormwater master plan. Okay, so Scott already covered some of this. I don't know if everybody could hear it. Okay, so the one that's on Scott's Landing is approved, and it will get done next year. They're still, they're finishing up the design work, and then they have to put it out to bid, and there's all kinds of other permits they have to get to do this. The one on Red Bridge Road, Scott talked about already that we're hoping to get okay from the owner there to allow this project to take place. The problem is that it's on private property, and the town needs permission to go on there and do the work, and that's become a little bit of a communication problem. Anyway, we hope to address that. Let's see. If you go to the next slide, which should be the picture. The drainage, that one. Okay, so the 2 projects that are approved, there's the red circled one at the top, and then the red circled one at the bottom is the one on Red Bridge Road. The other 1, 2, 3, 4 projects are ones that the Planning Commission considered to be a lower priority, and even though they're not being addressed now, they are ones that we can pick up at a later date and try and get a better roads grant for it. Anyway, those are the areas that they identified. I don't think the area that Glenn just talked about is one of them. So that's another one we can go and take a look at, and that might be a candidate for a Better Roads project down the road. Okay, next slide. The Better Road project that has been approved and is going to take place is the one on East Lake Road by Archibald Lane that had totally washed out, excuse me, during Irene, and then last year, I think, there was another big flood that required a lot of shoring up down by the lake. I mean, it just, everything washed down. Anyway, that is going to be addressed this fall. I think Scott said it was going out to bid. I couldn't quite hear what he was saying.
Yes, that's what he said. It's
Yeah.
going out to bid.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the map and indicate where that is?
On the, wait, I can show you where it is. It might be this one right here.
Oh,
Have I got the right one?
Yeah.
okay.
For people on Zoom, we're talking about right here.
LR4. It's LR4 on the map.
Thank you.
LR4, right there. Oops, sorry. LR4. Okay.
Okay, and that's all I have. The thing is that each one of these projects is like a multi-year grinding down the paperwork and the bureaucracy, and we just have to keep after it every year and get after the state. There's one agency, there's the Better Roads agency, that come in and look at it and tell us if it's a candidate for a project or not. Then the permit has to be submitted through the town. We don't have really any input other than to keep prodding everybody to move along. So, but gradually we are getting.
I actually think in the last couple of years, our cooperation with the town, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would have said it was lacking, but I think we're working hand in glove with the town pretty well right now.
Yeah, it's working well, but it still is a lot of effort every step of the way.
You know, the other thing that happens, just to acknowledge to the town, sometimes we in the Lakes region have a priority, but the town has other priorities because they have a big area to live in, and not that we all want to have our projects taken care of, but I acknowledge that, in resource constraint, they do what they can. So,
God bless you all who can get anything through the state. That's all I gotta say.
oh, well, we could have talks about that. So, Bruce, is there anything you want to say?
I guess I would just say, as a select board member, we obviously appreciate and, understand the importance of the Lakes region. We have about 54 miles of road in the town of Ludlow, so we will not be able to ditch a stone line every ditch. We will not be able to do everything that we want to be able to do. But I think with the budget that that we have, we're continuously working on being fiscally responsible for the entire town, and there are a lot of different conflicting values and conflicting priorities. But we do. We have worked, I think, closely with Bruce and the board. I think Scott Murphy has done a good job of reaching out to find better ways. I will say, people don't always maybe like what Ron Tarble says, but Ron is and will meet with people, and he's very good about giving. This is what reality is, and I can or I can't, so I'm really proud of the way that the town administration and the town employees continue to work, with the people in the community. But we're continuing to try to do better. We, Scott talks to us about things that are being done up there. We are aware of the problem with, Red Bridge in the dam. And we're also dealing with some of the challenges up there, but I think we're trying to find a balance, for everybody to use. So We can't thank you enough for the support that you give, you know, to the community. It shows, you know, looking at the support you give to the organization here, you know, how much people enjoy and are committed to, you know, to the lake. So, as a select board member and the chair, I want to thank you for your support. And I know many of you don't get to vote on our budgets, but it's still important that we hear what you have to say. And I can assure you that Bruce brings a lot of things to me and to Scott to like, hey, can you look at this?
Well, thanks so much for being here today. We appreciate the support and you coming to it. And I just want to make a point that I think I can speak for my colleagues on the board here. You know, we're all homeowners, but we also are stewards of this lake for everybody in Ludlow and Plymouth and Belmont and you know, Mount Holly who use these lakes and appreciate it. And you know, we take our responsibility seriously and think we're working well with towns. We recently reached out for some of those other towns on sediment issues and all of that, and you know, we just appreciate you being here and the cooperation that we're getting from the town, and we hope that we can, you know, figure out ways to do even more in the future. So thank you. Thanks, Bruce. Okay, was that it, Natalie? Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, so any other questions on that area where we're going? We'll just go ahead and keep on going. We heard from Scott Murphy, so we can go beyond that. And now it's time for our Milfoil report. And so with that, it's our George and Phil, and maybe I'll have something to say too, and we can talk about Milfoil.
Obviously a subject very dear to my heart and to all of those people on Lake Pauline. And that's kind of the biggest impact of all these things that we've talked about. The Milfoil issue is the big one for us. We don't really have to worry about the dredging and those kinds of issues or whatnot. But Milfoil certainly is a hot topic on the Lake Rescue Association board. It's a high priority of the board and something that they really are putting a lot of time and effort into. Just briefly, Milfoil was identified in our lakes at least a decade ago, And in 1915, we had divers and started paying divers to go in and start.
2015.
2015. To be perfectly candid, it seems like it was 1915 with the amount of effort we put in here. Okay, 2015. I'll try to get that right. So we started doing hand pulling at that time. We're paying people to go in and do it. And in 2019, we recognized that the board recognized that they needed to do more. So then they had purchased some 12 bottom barriers to get down, and they put those down. You probably all know about the bottom barriers, but they put the bottom barriers down, and it literally does kill it. It stays down for so long. It kills the live plants. It kills the roots. And we can take then and move those bottom barriers. Not me personally, God forbid, but the divers take care of that. And the issue there again, we keep hearing about grants and we keep hearing about the state intervention. The state won't let us do that until July 1 because we have to wait until the fish have had an opportunity to spawn. We every year put in a request to try to get those bottom barriers in earlier, because after, you know, we get into July, that's when we have a lot of heavy boat usage in the lakes, and it kind of chops up, you know, the milfoil and whatnot. We'd like to get a head start of it. This year I wrote 2 pages of a plea, which I thought was really good. And they said they'd look at it, they'd review it, and they sent it on to somebody else. They said July 1st. So it's really tough working with the state on some of those things and whatnot. And we understand, as Bruce has mentioned before, all of the different departments and whatnot that get involved in making those decisions. But so that can be a bit challenging. But we did get 12 bottom barriers. In 2020-21, we added 36 more.
If you go to the
2020, yeah, we'll get to that.
This is the third slide.
Yeah, I'll get to all that in just a second. Okay, so then we ended up adding the dash boat in 2020. In 2021, we decided the use of a dash boat was really effective, so we ended up purchasing our own dash boat. And this year, as an added increase, we purchased 15 more bottom barriers. which, by the way, you go through with the state and you have to get state approval. They want to know the depth of the water you're putting in, what the incidence is, how thick the milfoil is, exactly where you're going to place the mats. You have to send them a little map and show them where the dots are, where you're going to place these mats. To do an application, you've heard about the applications that you have to do. This is backup for the application that we had to do this year so that we could do some of this work. Let's see. So we're going to look at...
You want another slide?
Sure, you can go to the next slide. It's great. Okay, so I think everybody knows, but we're still trying to educate people. The invasive Eurasian milfoil is a picture on the left. I think you probably all know what it looks like. That's what a mat of it looks like. That's in Lake Basin, and we're working very hard to make sure that our lakes do not become like this one, which ultimately becomes unusable for swimming, boating, fishing, basically anything. The picture on the right is a lovely blown-up picture of what Eurasian milfoil looks like. I tell everybody, it's a little, the flowerets go about an inch down on a long stem. I say it looks like a feather, and it's got all these little branches that go off. Every one of those little branches is capable of starting a new plant. However, we put that up there so that you could see what it looks like in anybody on the committee, certainly myself, Phil, and Bruce. If you have any questions about, is this milfoil or is this not? Because there are some lookalikes. There are some native milfoil plants that grow in our lakes. This one is an invasive one. It is not native. And this is the one that we're looking to extract and remove from the lakes. That's the one that's causing our problem.
If you're not sure and you want, just to give one of us a call. Phil's very good at going and taking a look and can tell you, that's why we call him film oil. And taking a look at that, just reach out and we'd be happy to help you identify it in that.
Yeah, and I actually get calls too on Lake Pauline, and it's really nice to know that people are reaching out, because this is a problem that just the people on this table are not going to solve.
I have to tell you, this is an existential threat to all of our property values. If this continues to propagate and grow and goes unchecked, the lake won't be able to be used. So it's really important.
So let's go to the next slide. Whoops.
Chris.
If anyone has a question about what happens to a lake where milfoil has been allowed to take over, take a look at Star Lake up in Belmont.
It's tragic, isn't it?
It's so sad.
It is tragic.
Completely covered.
And take a look at what's happened to the property values on that lake.
I'm sure.
Because of the milfoil. Okay, so this just gives a little bit of history by numbers, and you can read down through that. In 2019, notice I said 2019 this time, 275 gallons, 2020, 67. That was a really biggie. That's when we were renting a dash boat. Then in 2021, we have our own dash boat. Notice the incidence is, the amount that we've collected is less, which is a very good sign. 2022, we're presently at 1,406 gallons of milfoil that's been collected. And you can see the bottom barriers. We've continued to add bottom barriers on. Then you can look at the cost, and the cost has gone from $20,000 to $42,000 to $51,000 to actually $87,000 this year. The board has made a real commitment to say, okay, we are going to curb the growth of this and to try to ensure that we have beautiful lakes to enjoy. And so we're really at 87. That includes, we've increased the number of days that our divers are working on our lakes. They're actually diving 3 days and doing hand pulling another day. And then they come to Lake Pauline when they're really needed, or at least minimally they come every month to go through and check how things are in Lake Pauline. You can see that our grant monies, that's the state grant, is increased over the course of the years. We're at $15,000. I'm actually hoping we can bump that a little bit. So the $87,000 that we've got listed as a cost does include the amount of money that we actually spend cash. In addition to that, we have $10,000 worth, $10,775 is what I budgeted, of volunteer hours. So you may have heard from me and heard from others that we look for volunteers to go out and look for the milfoil and do some of those things I'll talk about in just a moment, and keep track of those hours, because the state likes to see that it's not just an individual board that's taking care of this issue and that's concerned about it, but they're really interested to see that other residents and people who live on the lakes and the areas are taking an active interest in trying to help resolve this problem as well. All right, what do we got next, Bruce? Okay, here we've got list. I'm sorry?
Do you have a picture of the bottom barrier? I have no idea.
I can describe it. It's a 50-foot by 100-foot.
No.
50 by 10 by 50.
I'm sorry, 10 by 50 vinyl barrier. I think it's almost like canvas, and then it has rod pockets in it for rebar that go in it. And so what that does is it steps. If you go on Round Pond right through the channel and you go to the right, the barriers there are white. If you're in a boat, you can go ahead and take a look at them. And so what the divers do is they put those down, and then they overlap the areas. And then at some point during the summer, after they've smothered some of the plants, they might adjust them and move them around. What's that?
Do they kill everything in the bottom, like the clams as well?
I don't think they kill the clams. I think it kills the vegetation, and and it's an effective way. I think it's the most effective way we can fight these things. And as I said, or as George said, we increase the numbers that we have. And I talked to the dive team this week, and they think that they're doing a very good job. Kat and Shane, the divers, told me earlier this week that they're seeing a lot less concentration of milfoil. They're seeing lots of dispersed plants, but the areas that it's been concentrated, and we've deployed a bottom barrier, that's working pretty well. Yeah.
Lisa? No, I'm sorry. It's not Lisa. Behind. Yes.
The other thing is I noticed sort of increasing other kinds of vegetation, particularly in Lake Pauline. Lily pads and, yeah, I mean, they're
I've noticed that too. Proliferation of normal aquatic life.
Yeah.
And some of that's probably cyclical. I also wonder if getting rid of the milfoil is just allowing natural vegetation to come back, but I've noticed the exact same thing. And I've noticed it on my waterfront where all of a sudden I have a lily pad.
Our mandate's for the invasive species only. We're not really concerned with the lily pads and the other things. So,
as much as we might want to be when we go swimming and whatnot, it's one of those issues again that the state will allow us to do just the invasive Eurasian milfoil. The rest are considered native plants, and it's that, I think as Bruce mentioned, the natural kind of thing that ends up.
Question in the back?
Yeah, I just wonder if there's any trend that they've noticed, like if there's milfoil growing near the ponds, if there's any runoff from fertilizer, like things like that.
I haven't heard that report. The question is about, growing your lawns and growth because of fertilizer or other things. No, that's not something that we have. The real problem with propagation of milfoil is when a plant fragments. A boat prop goes through it and cuts it up, and then it floats and it drifts to the bottom and takes root. And one of the things I would say this year we're having a pretty good year, and part of that has been that there's been a lot of wind on the lake. It's been somewhat cloudier. We've had some rainy days. In clear sunny times when there's no wind, it grows a lot. But this summer it hasn't done, and we've done a good job in eradicating some of the big areas of it. So I wouldn't say that we've stemmed the tide, but I think we're making pretty good progress.
I think milfoil is not very selective, and where it grows, it'll grow anywhere. I don't think it really cares whether there's,
So there was a question on Zoom from somebody on Scott's Landing wondering whether we could make the pond a entire no wake, because what she is seeing from her dock is that people are doing fast boating, skiing, and they're going past the red buoys into the northern cove, and what she believes is chopping the plants up and just.
Yeah, I would disagree with that, but then it goes to authority. I don't think that this association has the authority to make
an entire section of the lake no wake zones. Now, I will tell you, we buy and maintain the no wake buoys, and the state doesn't tell us where we can put them or where we can't put them, but you know, I think that there would be problems if we tried to make all of Round Pond or all of a specific area of the lake a no wake area. You know, so I think what we need to do is to do whatever we can to educate the people. You know, Amy and Phil and so many other people work on putting these buoys out to mark the areas, and we're trying to get the boats to stay away from them. And you know, it's amazing to me how many people who live here all the time just don't pay attention to those buoys. And you know, I think all of us, it's incumbent upon us to talk about them. We have a brochure that we've printed. Every house on the lake has received one of those things. Our greeter that's on the boat ramp on the weekends, Chris Mott, who lives in Belmont, he tells people about those and has those brochures to hand out. But no, to answer your question, Amy, I don't think that's something that we can do. I'm not sure that we have the authority to do that. Okay, next. Yes.
You know, as I think someone mentioned, or maybe multiple people mentioned, that we've got some of the big areas under control for milfoil, but there's a lot of fragmentation around. And it's going to be, unless we really mat the entire lake, I don't think they're going to actually be killed off. But I see some of the lakes are doing some chemical, and you know, the ads that I've seen for those chemicals say that they're safe and so on. Is that been considered as a...
You know, we've talked about it. I can't speak for the board here. I can speak for myself. You know, I drink water from a well that's in the water table on Round Pond. I'm hesitant to use any kind of chemicals and all that. You know, Monsanto said Roundup was safe until it wasn't safe. You know, I suppose that's something that we could take a look at. I think the efforts that we're doing are working pretty well. And you know, if we had a situation like Lake Bomazine and it was a carpet of milfoil, that's something that I think we could think about. But I for one, don't think we're there yet. I don't know.
So Bruce, I did a little work on this.
Yeah.
My brother was on Little Lake St. Catherine, which was much like Bomazine, and they did use the chemical, but they had no other option. It was beyond being able to do it through non-chemical means. But Lake St. Catherine's annual budget is like $63,000. You have to do that every year. State only lets you do 40% of the impacted area. So it's not like you do it and you're done and you move on. And it still comes back. It kills it, but then it still comes back. So it's not a permanent solution. And the last thing, watching on local Rutland television, Bomazine was going to use it, and the board people were protesting. It became a big political issue that was very contentious. I think the days may have passed where it's even socially acceptable to say that you're going to put even a safe chemical. I've heard the same thoughts on this stuff as you have. So at this point, I think we're taking the right course by doing everything we can without using the chemical.
I think it's safe to say that it's not something that we wouldn't consider as an absolute last resort. There are also, which wasn't mentioned, there are some people in our lakes that actually draw from the lake for their homes. So obviously they would have an issue with it as well. So, you know, it's something that we're not looking to do right away, but it is something I think that if we ever got to the point, as they said, with the mats that you're seeing in some of the other lakes, that we might consider doing that.
So let's talk about hand pulling. I'm mindful of our time here.
Right. I just want to point out, this is the little brochure that they mentioned. If you didn't get one, there's one in the back. You talked about the no wakes. In this little brochure, it does talk about some issues with boaters in it. Stay away from the shoreline. Use your depth finders and go slow under 20 when it's under 20 feet to prevent chopping up milfoil. So extraction methods is what we've got next. Hand pulling rooted plants by divers and homeowners. That's coming up. We've got hand pulling There is a hand-pulling instruction sheet that is on our website, but just quickly, you can do it. There was previous years, it was like we didn't want you to do that, but now we've discovered that it is possible for people to do it. It's relatively simple. Step one, reach down gently behind a plant that you've identified. Use your palm, use it as a rake, kind of go under, gently dig down. You can get the roots, push your fingers in, rake it up. Step three, when you've reached the bottom of the stem in your grass, pull it up from the bottom and dispose of it. Dispose of it in a place that there's no possibility of getting back into the lake. People have said, and you want to be gentle to try to not to, have the milfoil break away and create any fragments. I always tell people, what we're doing, if we do lose a fragment and there is one someplace, at least we've studied the growth. So it's got to start afresh again, and it's not just going to be continuing to multiply, as it were. So there is this brief instructions on hand pulling on the website. There is also a little more detailed instructions on how to hand pull milfoil from the lakes.
And George and I have both pulled a lot. You can also use a steel rake. If it's muddy, it's easy to use your hand. If it's kind of sandy, use a little spade. When you pick it up, if it's muddy, you just shake the mud out. It's going to create a visual problem in the water if you want to get more. And so Round Pond and Lake Pauline have very good volunteers. We've probably pulled 50, 60. Yeah.
Yep, okay, so quickly go on to volunteer zones. This year, another thing the association decided to do was to set up zones around our lakes. And this is a map that shows 10 different zones around our lake, and we've been looking for volunteers to sign up to work in specific zones. We've got a lot of volunteers, as you can see my little sticky note here, a lot of volunteers up in Zone 1, which is Round Pond, and it goes on down around the lake. This is where we're really short, so if anybody happens to live on the eastern side of Lake Rescue, we desperately could use some volunteers in that particular area. I have volunteer forms that I have people complete because we have to total up the volunteer forms and determine what specifically they were doing as a volunteer. To report that to the state, they take all of that into consideration. At this point in time, we have about 40 people. So it's not just the Milfoil Committee, but there are 40 people that have volunteered to do milfoil hunting. I call it milfoil hunters. So if you are interested to become a milfoil hunter, we'd love to have you join us in doing that. And what it entails is, and there are several of us that talked about that, every time we go out in a canoe or a kayak or our paddleboard or whatnot, we throw a little net on our vehicle, and if you see floating milfoil fragments, you can scoop them up, put them in a little pail, take them off. Any one that we collect potentially is saving multiple other plants from taking root. So you can mark if you can collect. If you can't do that, but you see live milfoil, or you think it's live milfoil, growing milfoil, you can let us know. We can give you a buoy. We can come out and check to make sure it is.
Phil has a buoy right here.
We can put a buoy in.
Well, this is an ingenious thing that
That's
Natalie
cool.
came up with. So you can wait for us to order a buoy from Amazon, and then we get it, and we blow it up, and then we'll go find it. Or you can just take a noodle, cut off, about a 6-inch, stick a rope through it, tie it to a rock, and drop it. Natalie has done a lot of marking in Carpenter's Cove with this. And so this is just a simple way, and then you just notify the board. And if it's too deep or we can't get it, we'll tell the divers. But sometimes it's we're able to go down and just get it, and then that's a plant that's not going to turn into 5 plants. So anyway, so this is inexpensive. Just buy a couple noodles, and anytime you need one, you find a rock and use a rope. So
I think the key is to make sure that we know, so that because something like this, the divers might not know that that's a buoy for milfoil. So if we know where it is, we always tell them, okay, we've got some buoys out here, buoys out there, etc. So looking for more volunteers always. You can mark, you can set buoys, and we'll be happy to follow up with those. Let's see. Next, dash boat.
I just wanted to point out on the dash boat. Kevin misspoke during his portion of the thing. The new motor that we bought was a 40 horsepower motor, not a 70 horsepower motor. But if you see the dash boat, what this is it's a modified pontoon boat that has a big trash pump on it. It's got a 10 horsepower trash pump, and this long hose goes in the water and sucks up, vacuums up the milfoil plants. The divers go in the water and they vacuum it up, and then the hose dumps out into this steel table which has a mesh strainer on it, and the water returns to the lake, and then it takes the vegetation material, and then they rake it into these 20-gallon buckets, and they take that out. Then they take that to the boat ramp at the end of the day, and then it's hauled to a dump site off of the lake. Some of it goes to a private dump site, and then some of it also goes to the town's mulch pile. In terms of that, so it's very effective. It was good for using this. We built this ourselves and kind of MacGyvered it. Shane and Kat Yoder do a very good job, and it's kind of a, a dirty, scuzzy, but very effective boat for taking a look at that. I think it's helping our efforts very well. So.
The next slide is just what's continuing to go on. Bottom barriers are going to be relocated. The harvesting is going to be continuing with the dash boat, hand pulling and pulling when needed. Resident harvesting, that's all of you. Spotting and marking, and continuing to think about, okay, what do we do next?
Very good. Well, I just want to let you know that Phil and George are great committee members. They do a tremendous amount of work on the Milfoil program. They're dedicated and intrepid and are working hard on it, and we could all use your help. The way we'll beat this milfoil is by everybody taking a hand, harvesting in your own front yards, reporting where we have it, and taking a look at it. I think it's incumbent upon all of us to do that. So thank you. Are there any more questions on milfoil? Okay, so then moving on, the state dock update. So I'll handle this very quickly. In 2018, the Division of Fish and Wildlife, as part of A&R, filed for a permit to install a 48-foot dock on the Lake Rescue Fishing Access Boat Ramp. They had a public comment period where many people who commented thought that it was an ill-advised design. It's not. The state is saying that this is an ADA compliant dock. It's not that people who are in this community are against an ADA dock. I think we're against this design, and all of the comments in the public comment period, and then later at a public meeting at the Ludlow Library, were pointed out the problematic areas of this dock, and it was being an attractive nuisance, that it was going to be a hazard to navigation, that it was going to make backing boats in and off of the ramp harder and doing all of that. And so we waited some months after that, and the state, no big surprise, one division of the A&R decides what another division of the A&R does, and they approve the permit. And so then our membership and some of the adjacent homeowners decided to appeal that to the state environmental court. And at one point we went to mediation, and we couldn't come to a solution on that. We've proposed to the state that they do a less ambitious dock, something smaller, that wouldn't do that. And then because of COVID, the state kind of kicked the can down the road for a couple of years. And then shockingly, this spring, we were getting ready to go to trial, and we called our attorney, and he wasn't responding to us, and he wasn't responding to our emails, and it took us a couple of weeks. And then we were shocked to find out that our attorney, George McNaughton, unexpectedly passed away. And so we recently, I was in Burlington last week, and we found a replacement counsel, somebody who specializes in environmental law. We had a status hearing with the judge last Monday, and we've now set a possible trial date for sometime in December. So if I was to anticipate your questions here and say, what do you think is going to happen here? We just don't know. I mean, I think it could go either way. The environmental court generally favors the state in these things. I think what the state's done here is they're putting docks in many of the lakes around
the state, and they have kind of a blanket contract for one long dock in the same design, and that 50-foot dock that might be appropriate on Lake Champlain or one of the larger lakes is not appropriate for that little section of Round Pond. We're going to endeavor to point all of these things out with the court. What happens, I don't know. We'll just have to see. We have our experts lined up. I like this new attorney. His name is A.J. LaRosa. He practices before this court regularly. He was just in front of the judge on another case last week, and so I think we have a good attorney representing us, and he's going to take an aggressive tack in all of this, and we'll have more to report, next year. Yes.
What size dock are you recommending?
I don't think it needs to be a 48-foot dock. I think that's what we talked about, doing a small kayak dock that would let people get in and out. We proposed a smaller dock, and the state was recalcitrant. They just want the dock that they want, and wouldn't do that. It's not that we're against people with disabilities. I can also tell you that there are people that use that dock all the time. Craig Peters, who lives right at the top of the hill at Fishing Access, his wife, she passed away about a year ago or 2 years ago, but he loaded his wife onto she was in a wheelchair, onto his pontoon boat at the Fishing Access, every day during the summer, and didn't need that kind of a dock. He's one of the people that will be a witness for us at the trial in terms of that. I think what the state is contemplating is, having a setup where someone can, back a boat down, and access the boat from the dock and getting in and out of there. And it's not that we're against that, it's that there are so many problems with that. Any of you who, I live on Fishing Access Road, any of you who go there regularly know on a busy weekend the trucks are triple parked with trailers there. Imagine trying to back up a trailer when there's trailers on both sides, and then you're constrained by a dock on one side. It's just going to be very difficult to do that. And the other thing is, frankly, we think it's going to be a hazard to navigation, that it's going to stick so far out in what is a small round pond that'll make a difference. Will we prevail? We don't know. We've done a lot of work. It's incomprehensible to me that the state has discounted everything that the people in the community have said. Nobody's been in the affirmative for this dock. Everybody has expressed concerns about the design and the safety and the attractive nuisance that it's going to be, yet they just still go on. So we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. We talked about it before. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have, but our thing is to stay tuned. Okay.
There's a question in the back.
Yes, question.
I own my house for something years. My name's Dorsey, and I know that people, non-homeowners, can just put their boats in the lake and use the lake, and there's all these problems with the lake. I mean, how is that? Why can they do that?
Well, the lake's owned by the people of Vermont. It's not owned by the homeowners or the town of Ludlow. It's the people of Vermont, and the charter that the state has, the Agency for Natural Resources, is that they make those public lands available to everyone in doing that. So we don't have any right to tell people that they can't use it. And as a matter of fact, it's the position of this organization, at least it has been in the past, is that we want everybody to be able to enjoy the lake. If a guy comes from Rutland and puts his fishing boat in and can go and fish and have a good day, that's what it's all about. That's what they're supposed to do. So we just think that this design of this dock is ill-advised, and we'd like them to do something different.
But is there consideration that, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah, we're right with you. That's what we're talking about. I mean,
Maybe that's a way to raise revenue, is to charge people that are using.
well, so anyone who registers a boat in the state of Vermont is charged, and that's what the A&R uses to fund their efforts. So that and fishing licenses and hunting licenses. And so the boat registration and the fishing licenses are how they gain their revenue. And, I can tell you that in our public meeting, the guy who's the state official who manages the fishing accesses, told us in that meeting
that he was there to represent all of the people of the state of Vermont, not just the rich homeowners who lived on Lake Rescue, and did that. And I at the time was insulted by that because, you know, we, those rich owners of property, rich owners, are the environmental stewards, or the people that work on the milfoil, or the people that do all of that, and the state doesn't do it. I actually got an apology letter from the Commissioner of Revenue after this guy said that. But, you know, they don't care about, I don't think many of them care about the homeowners. They're taking a look at you know, making it available for everyone, and that's their, you know, point of view on it. We think that this is a dock might be a good idea, and we're supporting the idea of handicapped people being able to use the lake. We just think this design is bad, and that's why we're fighting it. Okay. Boating safety. So you can read this. This is a repeat of one that we've had on the board. Again, we don't have any enforcement authority on all of this. We have some stickers and refrigerator magnets that we've handed out. Amy's got some in the back if you want one. If you rent your property out, maybe give these to your renters. You know, if you see bad behavior, I think the thing to do is to report it to the game warden, and you know, and go ahead and take a do it. I will tell you that there is a lot of discussion going on about the use of wake boats on the lake right now. There are some efforts in the state to get some new regulations and laws passed through the legislature about the use of wake boats. I can tell you what we've discussed as a board in terms of wake boats is that we don't want to be in the business of telling a wake boat owner that they can't use a wake boat. But what we do want to do is communicate to wake boat operators to be mindful and consider the both environmental impact and the safety of other boaters. I can tell you that last year I saw a wake boat go by and the operator wasn't paying attention and swamped a couple of 9-year-olds in a kayak near Discovery Island. And you know, that's just wrong. I don't think the person was being nefarious. I think what they were doing wasn't paying attention. They had the music cranked and they were going and enjoying that. I'll be frank with you. Some of our biggest donors in this fundraising campaign that we have, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, operate wake boats. I don't want to be in the business of telling them they can't operate, but what I do want to be able to do is to tell them that they have to operate safely, and that we're taking a look at that. You know, the state's going to come up with the laws that they're going to come up with. You know, some lakes in Vermont allow jet skis. Our lake isn't big, our lakes aren't big enough to allow jet skis, and they don't do it. The legislation, you know, could go that way, and not. I see a question. Yes.
Well, it's the 4-foot waves generated by the wake boats that, you know, when you have a dock that's 2 feet above the lake and it's getting swamped by.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you.
It also causes erosion of the shoreline,
yeah,
which is not good. And I mean, you can see the patterns in the sand.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree with you. So, but somebody who operates a wake boat responsibly, that can be okay. The problem is that they're operating a wake boat, you know, 50 feet from your dock, not 200 feet from your dock, and it makes a difference. So you know, I would agree with you. And you know, when those 9-year-olds got swamped, I almost got swamped too. And you know, I would agree with you on that. You know, there is some legislation that's working its way through that. I would encourage you to talk to your state legislator if you have a point of view on that. We're thinking about, we've seen some industry safe boating pamphlets recently. They're distributed in New Hampshire, and we've talked about talking to the organization doing and maybe handing those out and doing that. You know, are there other concerns about boating safety that anybody wants to bring up? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's Bob Alter, and we've had a cottage in like 50 years or so.
It's the second one on the lake that was
Yeah.
ever built.
Nice.
Well, we didn't build that. Yeah. In any case, over the years, there has been a major increase in high-speed boating, and the primary
concern I think that we have is many of these boats come very close to the shore at high speed, much closer than 200 feet. And what should we do in those cases? Are we to call the?
Yeah, what I would do is try to take a picture of the boat and get the whole registration number, if you can, or take a little video of it, you know, on a phone, and then call the game warden. And if you need help getting a hold of the game warden, call me and I'll help you get to the game warden. We don't have any enforcement authority. You know, I've thought about putting a little red hat with the light on it and going after my kayak with them, but I don't think that that'll work. You know, maybe hit them with a milfoil net.
30 years ago, I remember, well, 25 years ago, I guess, one of our daughters was cited for not having a proper life jacket on while she was out in the canoe. But I don't see any kind of...
Well, they're there. There's two enforcement folks that come by regularly on the lake. It's the game warden, Tim Carey, and he's got a boat and he patrols around and he checks for fishing licenses. And as you said, you know, that there's also a Vermont State Police auxiliary officer who, Jocelyn, what's her last name? Jocelyn. Stoles. So she comes regularly, and they, you know,
I've seen him on several
she's
times.
there. She's given me a ticket for not having a great trailer registration. So, and I can attest personally that she's there. I use the trailer twice a year to bring the boat in and the boat out, and the rest of the time it's in my yard. But I got a ticket for it, and so you know they're out there in enforcement. I will say that it sometimes takes them, you know, a day or two. If you have something that's going on, like you see somebody that's maybe operating under the influence of alcohol and is doing that, you can call the state police dispatch number, you know, call the state police emergency number and ask for somebody to respond right away. And they'll try to do that. Otherwise, you know, you call the game warden and leave a message, and a day or two he'll come back. But if they have evidence, like, you know, video, there was a case last year where some consumers took or homeowners took a video of somebody operating a dangerous tubing right down by the Red Dam that they came in and do that. And I can tell you the game warden went to the individual who did that and had a conversation with him, and we haven't seen that kind of behavior out of that particular individual this year so far. Yeah.
So about the wake buoys, I mean, is that something that, I mean, can we just, they're fairly expensive, but can we buy them and put them out in our home?
You know, I suppose you can. We recently, we haven't gotten to it yet, but at our last board meeting, we agreed to purchase 2 more wake buoys. We're going to put one north of Discovery Island, and then there was another spot. I don't remember where it is, but we've authorized purchase. So the association buys the buoys. The ones on the north and the south end of the channel, the one down near Red Bridge, you know, near the couple ones down there, Slack's Pasture. We do those. You know, Phil put in the buoys this year. I put them in. Kevin Goldman and I put them in last year. Bill Veneman and Gary McIntyre take care of the ones at the south end of the lake. And I do know that one homeowner recently over on what is that? East Lake Road has put in their own in front of their dock, a smaller one. I don't know if that's allowed or not allowed, but you know, like I said, that nobody tells us where to put them. We just kind of put them where they make sense. Other questions? Yeah.
Just a couple of comments. One, I just dinged the prop. I don't use my motorboat that often, but we just dinged the prop this past week going through the channel. And it might be helpful to demark the low points and the shallow points around the channel.
Okay.
Just as
yeah.
This second comment is we renewed our boat and trailer registration back in June, just as a heads up to people, and never got a sticker. So I applied again and sent $3 to the state. I'm still waiting for that sticker. So I don't know if anybody else is.
You know what you can do is if you go online, you can download a temporary registration and keep that with you. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Bruce, can I say one really quick thing? I know we're going long. You know, I think this is great. This is a great conversation for the room. I think we all are on the same page with this. I think one thing we can do, not to be like the membership cheerleader here, but like the more we can do to get other people to come and join us as a part of this community will help us, because there's a lot of people we're talking about who may not even be aware of some of the implications of having giant wake so close to the shore, right? They don't really, they made self-interest doing what they want to do, but they realize what the implications potentially were. And so us talking about it here is great, but we need to amplify that message. So I know there's a lot in social that we're trying to do, but I think if you see someone or you're talking to a neighbor or you meet somebody, encourage them to at least talk to one of us, talk to you. I think the more we can get everybody on the same page, this will hopefully eliminate some of that activity.
I agree. Thank you. Okay. So now we go to old business. We have a scholarship in honor of a past president of the Lake Rescue Association, Mary Rita Betazol, who passed away, and we've endowed a scholarship for her that we have, and Natalie can speak to that.
Yeah. So this is, I think, the third year that we've done this. Is that right, Michelle? Third year. And we had 3 applications this year, and this young lady clearly stood out. Clara Ginu, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but she is going to Rensselaer to be an environmental engineer. President of the environmental club at her high school, you know, admirable resume. So this was done as again, another community outreach to raise our profile in the towns around us and to give back to the community. I was very pleased to see that in Kevin's report, in the financial report, there was $950 that was donated specifically for this scholarship. So people are noticing this and recognizing. What?
Maybe not everyone knows who Mary Rita was.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Mary Rita was on the lake forever. I don't know how long she was here. I think she grew up on the lake over on Round Pond. And then she and Fletch were the people that put out the water ski course every year. And they were out there every day. They had a big pontoon boat, and they went around and talked to everybody on the lake. She was like the mayor of Lake Rescue.
She recruited me to this board. She said, "Oh, it's just a couple of meetings."
So she was a great cheerleader and champion of all our projects, and really got everybody involved. I know she recruited me too, of course. Anyway, she passed away, I'm going to say 2018 maybe. Yeah. Too
so
young.
we've got a great kid that's getting us some money, and it honors the memory of Mary Rita and what she did and all that she did, and we're happy to sustain that. So I'm mindful of our time. I'm going to go to new business. As I said earlier in the conversation,
Did you know her?
we have we'll have a process in the past where we're going to talk in the future, I should say, as we're going to talk about a new name for the organization. We'll be going forward that in the future. I wanted to ask if there was any other new business that wanted to be brought up by the membership. Yes?
I don't know if you all know about the Lakewise Program that the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation does, but it's a program where they encourage people who live along the lake to, they call it sustainable lakeshore development to fight erosion and protect lake quality. It's all about your plantings along the lake. A lot of people like to just rip out all the trees for a view, but it's really important how it is that you manage your property along the lake. So we are, our place is in the cove that's on Benson Point, across from where you live. We have just a horrible lakefront, and we have the Black River Action Team is going to be coming in to work with us over the next year to put together a sustainable design for our lakefront, and then they'll be bringing in volunteers to do the plantings in early spring. And I wanted to make you all aware of it, and I'll be putting onto the Lake Rescue Facebook periodic updates of how it works. And I'd like everyone to sort of tune in so that you can think about your own lakefront, and they'll do this for anyone. So if anyone else is interested in this, I mean, they go and they get the grants to test your soil, and you know they'll bring in the people to actually do the planting and some of the plants as well. And it's really great for all of us to think about getting involved.
Well, Lisa, thank you for telling us about that. You know, maybe one of the other things is we can include an article in our newsletter about it when it goes out to the membership.
Yeah, I'd be glad to work with you on that.
Great.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is this has been on the Lake Rescue page. Anastasia Zingerman takes gorgeous pictures, and somebody mentioned the idea of a calendar as a fundraiser, or creating a calendar, but I thought that might be a nice fundraiser, a calendar. Somebody volunteered on the Facebook page who works at a printing company to print calendars at cost if we ever wanted to do that. I have designed calendars.
Sounds like a great project. We're happy to have your help with it.
Yeah, so
spell that name.
If you ever want to do that, you know, I'd be glad to get involved.
Okay, thank you. That would be great.
Lisa, with your relationship to the Okino TV, can you do some footage of the plantings and the experience and maybe get it on a reel on Instagram?
I'm trying to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Because I think that could go a long way.
I do too. I do too. No matter what, whether we do it with the TV or whether we do it ourselves, to get video of things that are going on.
Okay, any other new business? Yeah.
I just want to piggyback on what Bruce said as to why I think it's important that there be a name change. George and I bought our home on Lake Pauline 35 years ago, and shortly after that we received a mailing about joining the Lake Rescue Association. And we thought, well, why would we join an association that's for a different lake? And then we got the printed directory with everybody that included Lake Pauline, and so the membership wasn't that much, and we joined, and I think we've been a member ever since. But it wasn't until 2020 when the milfoil started to come from Lake Rescue into Lake Pauline, and we'd start talking to our neighbors, and they had the same feeling. Why would we become a member of a association that was for another lake? And it's sort of like, well, because what happens to Lake Rescue definitely affects us. So I would hope that the board and the members would consider a change in name such as Ludlow Lakes Association, that would feel much more inclusive to the people on Lake Pauline rather than exclusive, being Lake Rescue Association. So
Thanks, Linda. Okay, yeah, I appreciate that.
Why do we have to wait a whole year to discuss that?
Because I said so.
We were talking about this a year ago, and we could be getting members.
Well, I don't. We have gotten members, and we have done it, and I don't remember us talking about it a year ago, but maybe you were. Okay. Well, in any case, you know, we're incorporated. We have a name. It's part of our bylaws. There's a procedure in place for the bylaws when they're going to be changed. We weren't prepared to do it at this meeting because it wasn't in the proxy. We can call a special meeting if you want. You know, we'll let me just say we'll take it under advisement and see. We're committed to addressing this issue, and you know.
I liked your idea about soliciting ideas.
Yeah, I just don't want to say it's Ludlow Lakes Association. We want to have a process in place so we can do it and decide it in a measured fashion. I will tell you, I've heard from some people who are longtime members that say they think the branding of Lake Rescue Association is historic and important, and they don't necessarily want it to be changed. So I think, although I personally am open to it, I think everybody has to explore and see and come with the best ones. So let's do it in a deliberate phase, and we'll try to do it before a year's over.
Can I just ask how many other lakes there are that would be in Ludlow?
You know, I don't know. Echo Lake is in, and I'm not necessarily interested in having another lake join our association because they'll dilute our resources. And you know, I don't want to have to spend money on milfoil on Echo Lake when we want to spend it on Lake Pauline and Lake Rescue. Yes.
Can't we just change the name Ludlow, but now the Lake Rescue
Yeah.
and Lake.
Being mindful of time, I think what we're going to do is have a considered discussion on this, and we'll report back to the membership about yes. Yes, in the back. Great. Great. Why don't you? My email is bruce@zanka.com. Why don't you send me an email next week, and we'll get you involved in it. Okay. Any other new business?
Just following up what Lisa said about Black River Association, Black River
Action Team.
Kelly Stetner is really, I think, very, very good and very enthusiastic about working with homeowners to try to make their property very ecologically
Sustainable.
Yeah, sustainable and working with the lake. So if anybody wants to do anything with the waterfront, I really would encourage them to contact Brad.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Any other new business? So now it's time for our proxy voting. So there were a proxy was sent out by email a couple of weeks ago. There were 3 issues. Some were bylaw revisions, and these were essentially issues in updating the bylaws. We had a committee that looked into it, made recommendations, and then we sent this out by proxy to everybody to take a look at. So we're going to vote on those bylaw revisions that you've all received an email about and hopefully have read through. They're all kind of perfunctory. I don't think that there's anything that's particular. There was a legacy bylaw that talked about the membership of the board being comprised of 9 members, with about half of them being year-round residents and half being part-time residents. I can tell you in the 6 years I've been involved on the board, that hasn't been practical. There haven't been enough year-round residents to fill out the board with all of that, and so we've adjusted that by saying that we want to endeavor to have a good mix of year-round residents, but I think it's more important to have active volunteers on the board than it is to have a mandate that we can't fulfill. The other 2 things that we're voting on are an increase of our membership dues from $50 to $75. That's part of the bylaws, and we have to do that. You know, inflation's hit everybody, and we think for the value that it gives to the membership that's a reasonable point to go forward. And then finally, we have our board nominations. The board is supposed to have 9 members on it. We had 2 openings. The board met and nominated 2 individuals. They're here with us today. It's Gloria Gigi Katzif and Jacqueline Jackie Thong. They're both active volunteers in the organization and have helped on a variety of activities and are active homeowners. I have a little bio on each one of them. I won't go through reading it right now. They're right here. They're going to stand up because we're going to ask them to leave the room here in a minute. They're both sitting next to each other, and we intend to join on that. So what we're going to do now is ask them to leave the room. We'll have a vote. Many people have voted by proxy already. I just want to remind everybody for this vote, it's 1 vote per family membership, and so we can go ahead and go through and make these votes by that. So the first vote is Natalie, do you have the figures for the proxy that came in from Barb ahead of time?
Yes, I think.
Okay, so we can talk about those. So if you would say, what was the vote for the bylaw revisions?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I have 22 in favor.
22 in the affirmative, and any in
no.
Okay. So now, if you haven't voted by proxy and you are a member in good standing, 1 vote per family. Please show by raising 1 vote per family. All in favor of the bylaw revisions. Okay. All opposed? Okay. Show that it passed by acclamation. Okay, so increase in membership dues, I think it's a pretty straightforward thing. We haven't had an increase in a long time. It's from $50 to $75.
I think those are all in the affirmative as well.
Yes, they're all
Okay.
affirmative.
So all those in favor, 1 vote per family. And against? Show that,
I have a question.
yes.
on that. Can't we just say that we give the board of directors the authority to establish dues as they see fit?
We could, but that would require us to change the bylaws, and we haven't done that.
Which we
So-
just changed.
So, which we just changed. You know, we're mindful that this is a member-based organization, and we don't want this board to make decisions by fiat anyway. We have a fiduciary responsibility. We take that seriously. We you know, are very careful with the money we spend on behalf of the organization. And so I think for big things, it's good to have a membership vote, and that's why we gather each August to do these things. Okay, and then so the final 2 things is the board nomination of Gigi Katzif and Jackie Thong. I will say that Barb Silver, my co-president, who's on here, is retiring. She's stepping away from the board, and you know, we're going to miss her. So we'll be replacing her position in the future. And what our intention for that is to have a nominating committee that's going to be Spencer and I. And what we'd like to do is invite members who'd like to be on the board to self-nominate themselves and send an email in to us with a little, you know, background, a couple of paragraphs on why they'd like to contribute to the board and what they'd like to do. And then we'll interview those people, and then we will we'll nominate, you know, 1 or more person to fill the vacancy that's going to be created by Barb moving on in all of that. So we expect to do that in the months to come, and then we'll name a new board member after we've come to you know, a vote on that. The board will vote on that. That won't be a membership vote per se to fill out the rest of the term. Very well. So now let's do the vote for Gigi and Jackie. The votes on proxy were all in the affirmative. All in favor. 1 vote for family here. Any opposed? Showing none. That's great. You guys can come back in. You're on the board now. Okay. I think that's it. The only other thing that we have to do is, and I don't know if she can, Barb, try to unmute and talk if you can. Can you hear us? You know, it's not working. We're having audio problems. So I had intended to have Barb Silver make her little farewell speech, but the audio isn't coming through. She and I are texting. So we've been talking about you all back and forth during this meeting. And so she said, she asked me to read this for her. Thank everyone for Barb and tell them it's been an honor and privilege to work with such a committed, hardworking group of people and in the general membership. She's going to send a thank you email to everybody in the organization. And Barb, I just want to tell you how much we're going to miss your day-to-day participation, but don't think you're getting away without, you know, still working on all of these issues. So with that, I think it brings our meeting to a close. We got it in 2.5 hours. If you think of something that you want to talk to any one of the board members about, it's fine. If you did not sign in, please see Amy Newell, the sign-in sheet, so we can follow up. And then I also mentioned that we have a couple items for sale. Lake Rescue Association hats and these groovy little refrigerator bags to bring your frozen foods home from Shaw's.
And you can grab your lunch in the back table.
Yeah.
Still lunch.
Yeah, and if you haven't eaten a donut or want to take one home, please do those. So with that, you know, I'll yes, sir. Question?
I move we adjourn this.
Okay, very good. Move and second, all in favor, aye, and we're done for the day. Thank you.